Welcome back to the channel, Simian Squad, and welcome to Reddit Wednesdays. And today we have 3 more stories about neckbeards. Now, some of these stories are a bit on the older side, but I've been going through the archives and I find them to be better than some of the newer ones. These ones are short, contained, they are not sagas, they're just kind of one and done, but they are fun stories. So, let's get into them today. But a quick aside before we do that, if you enjoy this kind of content, please be sure to like, please be sure to subscribe, and please be sure to comment. That really does help the most. Also, if you would like to, please consider checking out my eBay or Mercari, or even becoming a channel member or patron. And with that being said, let's get to these beards. Our first story today takes us to Tate's comic book shop. First things first, I'm not a weeaboo, and I can barely be called an otaku. I mean, hey, if you are, that's okay though. Methinks you doth protest too much, but let's read the story. I watch anime from time to time, like I sit down and watch a whole anime series in one sitting. That sounds pretty weeaboo-y to me, but hey, to each their own. I go to Tate's comic book shop because I like the atmosphere, and I'm trying to get into anime again. Also, they have a lot of awesome plushies that I just love. Oh my god. Not to mention, they have cool action figures and art to offer as well, and a lot of Japanese snacks. Sounds like heaven, right guys? Maybe it's because I'm black, or because I'm a girl, but I seem to get the unwanted attention of neckbeards for seemingly no reason whatsoever. But maybe it was meant to be so that I have some content to post on this forum. Yes, for those who encounter beards, we salute you. So I decided to go into Tate's to look around, just see what they have. Because sometimes they have great comics that I've never heard of before, and how can I say no to that? It was when I'd finally found a comic, or manga, if you want to call it that I'd liked and was really enjoying. I was getting into it when I was suddenly aware that I couldn't see the book in front of me. So I absent-mindedly turned so I could get more light to read. That's when he says, "Hey, I was reading that." It takes me a moment to realize that there was someone talking to me, another to understand what they said, and another to realize it was dark because they were standing over me. I turned back to this person with a confused look, and this guy just smiled and tips his, I shit you not, fedora at me. I'm such a pushover, I just squeaked out a small, "I'm sorry." Because I know the most important part would be to describe him, I won't skip out. But for some reference, I'm 18, 5'7", curvy, and kinda shy at first. And here's the thing. I have a knack for thigh-high socks, tank tops, and either short shorts or a skirt. He was maybe 6 feet even, not fat, but not fit, and somewhat good-looking with a nice smile and big blue eyes. His hair was a mess, like a rat's nest, and that included his beard. I was so sure a roach or something was going to crawl out of the tangled mat of hair. He was wearing a Harley Quinn shirt, with her wearing some leather-tight one-piece, her boobs almost spilling out. That and a pair of jeans and a pair of clogs. He looked clean, but smelt like absolute shit, and my asthma was not liking it. His smell was that of a dirty bathroom with dog shit smeared on the walls that has been closed for several years. It was bad. Okay, then how did you not realize he was standing over you? Like, I'm very aware of smells, and if that guy was standing over me reading the same book as me, I wouldn't just notice that it got dark. I would notice the smell. Is that just what Tate smells like? I want answers, girl. My first thought was, take that beard off, fix that smell, and murder the fedora. And I'd totally date him. Yeah, just change everything about yourself and this girl will date you. I'm sorry to be a little harsh on the OP, but I'm starting to be a little incredulous and I'm not entirely sure I believe this encounter. I typically go into these stories pretty much blind and I read like the first part of it to see if it catches my interest, and so I sadly halfway through I kind of stopped believing them, but let's keep going. We gotta keep this video under 30 minutes. But then he opened his mouth and I was completely dry again. He said, "This book seems interesting, but not as interesting as your outfit." I hadn't said more than 2 words to him yet, and he was practically sizing me up and down. It wasn't that he was rude, but the way he said it made me want to run for the hills. Even then, I was a little flattered. I was wearing thigh-high socks, a red leather skirt, and that stopped at mid-thigh, and a black tank top under a black hoodie. So you went to a comic store dressed as Beard Bait. Okay, I'm not Mr. Sean, you cannot victim blame, but, you know who goes to comic book stores, guys. Again, like with our tabletop story from the last Neckbeard video, I'm getting a little bit of a sense of main character syndrome from this OP. Not as bad, but I'm getting a sense that she is purposely trying to sound naive, but maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Remember, guys, don't feed the bears and don't poke the beards. For the sake of being nice, I was about to thank him, thinking he was maybe just awkward like me. And then he ruins any chance of redeeming himself when he said this. Do you have a boyfriend? Because I would never let my girlfriend go outside like that. She'd just be asking for it. Ugh. My polite little awkward smile, it died. I could feel it fall from my face, replaced by a look of terror. Guys, I feel the need to clarify that when I commented on what the OP said she was wearing, I was merely insinuating that she was looking for attention, not the other thing. Nobody's ever asking for the other thing. Back to the story. I was distraught. To sum it up, what I just heard was, I like the way you're dressed, but I'd never let my girlfriend leave the house like that because she'd just be asking for unwanted sexual content. What the F? Maybe it was because I hadn't said anything for a while, but he kept talking, as if he had just said what he had just said was nothing to bat an eye at. So do you come here often? I really just wanted to get the hell out of there, ASAP, but he kept talking. I do, and I haven't seen you here before. He smiled, looking me up and down, then his eyes stopped at my boobs. Now, these are some triple Ds we're talking about. I know they're big, I can't hide that, but he was staring like they were going to come to life and strangle him. I grab the edge of my hoodie and pull it over my chest because I was getting very uncomfortable now. I hand him the book and just say, "Here, you can read it now." I start walking away and heading for the door. I spare a glance back like a dumb idiot in a horror movie and see him looking at the book like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? He puts it on the shelf, in the wrong spot, may I mind you. He turns and starts walking after me. Now I break into an effing sprint and run straight for the effing door. I whip out my keys and made a run for my car. I was not about to be cornered by this weirdo. I hopped into my car just as he was flying through the store doors. My car was on, in reverse, and out of the parking lot spot, all in the same moment, and I was on my way home with not a glance back. Now I'm scared to go back to Tate's Comics. Guys, I do feel for the OP in this story. While I did give a little bit of judgment her way, I actually know that my wife does often experience similar issues when going to some of these nerdy shops. Now, most of the time I am with her, so people don't, come right up to her. But there's this definite thing when a girl, especially a nerdy and somewhat busty girl, walks into a nerd space. The guys kind of just perk up like, girl, mine. But, unfortunately, yeah, while I'm a little bit like, I get it, you can't necessarily affect the way you're built, and you should dress how you want to dress. You definitely do. When you dress in a way that gets attention, you don't always get to pick whose attention it gets, but that's not to say I'm victim blaming. It is unfortunate that these beardos cannot respect personal space and just see any girl by themselves as a, do you have a boyfriend situation? Like, I go to nerdy spaces all the time, both with and without my wife, and yeah, there are many times that I see women there, and to be fair, I don't treat them any differently than I would a man in that situation, albeit I don't really talk to them. I just do go get what I was going to get because I'm at a store, and then I go upon my way. It is, the comic book store is not dating central, guys, and I feel like beards need to respect the fact that, one, people are at a shop. Don't hit on people at stores typically unless the timing and moment is right, but that's a little harder to determine. And also just simply leave people alone. Most people don't want to talk to you, no matter who you are. Alright, moving right along, we have a story from Gamestop again called My Gamestop Purgatory. A wannabe Ronin tries to rob a GameStop. Our main character here is Voxy. Me, Trans girl, male to female, 19, college dropout, nerd bait. I'm Asian and small, 150 pounds and 5 foot 7 inches on a good day, and I love all the nerdy stuff like Star Wars, Mad Max, Vidya, etc. Another character, Glorpo Frenzorpo. I think the name speaks for itself. I call most neckbeards Glorpos because they look like they could just melt into the floor. Got high once, laced with DMT, so that's exactly what happened, but that's a story for another time. Music elitist? MLP, anime, the works. At some point or other, I worked at an American Gamestop. Trust me, it's relevant. It was one of the smaller joints in a shopping mall, and I was the resident gamer girl, much to the chagrin of true gamers, and a savant to the average customer. I didn't make many friends since most were socially awkward and thought they could play video games all damn day, but in retail, that's simply not the case. It's an average afternoon shift. I'm stuck on cashier duty, and then it happens. Enter Glorpo, with a waistline only Saturn's rings could belt, clad in a trench coat, trilby, trip pants that you'd find in the Hot Topic, and complete with long greasy black hair and a neckbeard that looks like pubes were glued to his face. He strides in like he owns the place and grabs one of the funny-shaped Guitar Hero controllers, eyeing it up like some sort of tech inspector. Now, I'm used to greasy neckbeards frequenting the place, but I'm literally crushing a controller in my hands because of how silly this dude looked. Trip pants are supposed to look big. The seams around the thighs looked like they could burst at any given moment, and considering Hot Topic quality clothing, I'm surprised they didn't. So after giving it a once-over, Glowpro picks it up in a big huff and begins to walk out, without paying. Now the other employees couldn't give less of a flying F, but on my shift, oh no, that ain't gonna fly. We were actually just talking about this at my workplace the other day about those Guitar Hero controllers, how for a while you couldn't give those things away, and now enough time has passed that they're rare collectibles again for people who want to play Guitar Hero, as they're not really making any new things lately. Sir, what do you think you're doing? Curse retail etiquette. My good lady, I'm simply removing this archaic device from such a fine establishment, fighting the good fight for gamers everywhere. Is this guy serious? What mad delusion has he been living? As much as us gamers appreciate it, you still have to pay for it. Glorpo dons a grin so smug-looking it needed a cigar. You, a gamer. Be still, my heart, for trying to flatter me, but that's simply impossible. Nice deflection, jackass. Too bad it didn't work. Gamer or not, you still need to pay for it. He forced a chuckle and tipped his hat while winking, trying to charm yours truly into letting him get away with it, as if that rippling blubber would get me to drop trowel. That won't happen. Then I'll be forced to call mall security. I walk over to the counter and reach for the phone. The next turn of events are still sort of a blur, so I'll recount as best I can. As I am reaching for the phone, I hear the plastic guitar hit the ground and metal sliding against plastic. I slowly turn around to see the tip of some fancy replica wakizashi just inches from my face. I say again, wench, I am liberating this device from your unwilling grasp. What the hell? Glorpo's actually robbing the place. Obviously, this guy was way too detached from reality to be reasoned with. I slowly held my hands forward, reaching for my handbag, specifically the Saturday Night Special inside. Unbeknownst to me, one of my coworkers had just gotten back from lunch break and walked in on the scene and called for security. The mall cop showed up and yelled at Glorpo, causing the land whale to whip around, sword at the ready. Seeing the steal, the mall cop drew his stun gun and fired on the neckbeard, who tried, rather hilariously, in vain to block the 100,000 volts now coursing through his veins. I'm standing there, terrified and confused at what just happened, my one hand clutching the counter and the other with a death grip on my S&S. Another mall cop comes and calms me down enough to get a bearing on the prior event, as the first cuffs Glorpo, who's now making this weird gurgling noise. That night, I sent an email of resignation, and I haven't been to a GameStop since. I mean, wow, we all know that beards have this, undeserved sense of entitlement and self-confidence, but to actually think, one, you could just walk into a GameStop, take a controller, tip your hat, and get away with it, and then when confronted with the fact that no, you can't, you actually pull out a freaking samurai sword to try and rob a GameStop in the mall at sword point is just freaking nuts, guys. It sounds like working for GameStop has always been and will always be pure hell, but if my guess is correct, they're going to be the next big chain to go out of business. R.I.P. Joanne Fabrics. But let's go to our final story, guys. If you're still here and you're still enjoying this, again, please be sure to like and please be sure to leave a comment. Leave a comment, thumbs up if you can't think of anything else. Just every comment really gets that algorithm moving. So thank you so much in advance. Let's get to that final story, guys. You've earned it. And that story is called, Who Wants a Shrimp-Flavored Neckbeard Ride? Well, you had me at shrimp and you lost me at neckbeard. The OP says this story is long and there's a TLDR at the end, but in all honesty, this story's not that long, so let's just get into it. One of my favorite local bars has shrimp night on Thursdays, 49 cents each for jumbo steamed shrimp, for which I am a sucker. This bar also has one of my favorite bartenders, who I will call Ruby for her privacy. It is my habit to go there by myself some Thursdays, sit at the bar, and hang out for drinks, cheap shrimp, and chats with Ruby and some other regulars. Honestly, I don't go to bars, but that sounds like heaven, OP. One such Thursday, Ruby came over to me when I was about halfway through my meal and told me that the guy at the back corner table wanted to pay for my shrimp and the couple of drinks I'd had so far. I turned around and saw a guy who could not have looked more like a stereotypical neckbeard if he'd brought his katana and waifu to the bar with him. Wait a minute, OP, you're telling me that a good gentle sir came into an establishment of food and drink without his waifu and katana? Oh my god, he's going to lose his neckbeard membership. They're gonna take his beard! I already couldn't imagine this going real well, but I'm not rude, so I went over to thank him. He introduced himself as Stefan, that's S-T-E-F-A-N, emphasis on the second syllable. I didn't say this out loud, but honestly, there's no effing way that's really his name. My best guess is his actual name is Steven, and he wants to sound fancier than that. No chance in hell did his parents have the foresight to know what a greasy fedora neckbeard their baby son was going to grow into and name him accordingly. Yeah, I went to college with a guy, he wanted to go by Dylon, and we're like, Dylon? Is that like your real name? He's like, that's what my name is. It's like, okay, what does your mom call you? And he's like, well, Dylan. It's like, oh, why are you going by Dylon? He's like, oh, I want to be a rapper. And it's like, what's your first song going to be? Dial Up? I'm not trying to dog on chosen names, but if you're going to pick your own name, pick a good one at least. One that doesn't make you sound like a jackass. But I mean, if you really want to pick a name that just automatically makes you sound like a jackass, might I recommend Sean? Not Mr. Sean, though. That one's taken. Anyway, I introduced myself, said thanks for the shrimp and vodka, and was preparing to return to my seat. But he started asking if I wanted to leave there and have some fun. I replied that I really just wanted to eat my shrimp, to be honest, and I didn't have any real intention of leaving that bar and going somewhere else anyway. He replied, and I quote, I just really want you to ride my face. Let's unpack that just a little. Ride my face. Not sit on it, ride it. We're going places. Who the hell says anything like that to a person they've known all of 3 minutes? I was caught so off guard that the only reply I could come up with was, I gotta work tomorrow, so I'm just gonna go finish my shrimp. I guess I should clarify, since y'all don't know me, that if I had not had to work the next day, I still wouldn't have wanted a face ride. I just would have had to think of a different excuse. I returned to the bar and my dinner, and had a few minutes of peace before Stefan walked over and asked me if I wanted a shoulder massage. Right there at the bar. No, Stefan, I do not. He went back to his table and glared at me for maybe 10 or 15 minutes before finally putting some cash on his table for the bill and leaving. I filled Ruby in on the convo, and she found it equal parts horrific and hilarious. She also informed me that he's there a lot on Shrimp Night, and he does this every time. Picks whatever woman he's interested in, buys her shrimp and drinks, and tries to get her to leave with them. It has never worked. Not once. You know why, Stefan? No one is impressed enough at you shelling out for 49-cent shrimp to go with you to your apartment, your mom's basement, I assume, and ride your weird face. God damn. Here's the kicker. A few minutes later, Ruby came back and told me that not only had Stefan not paid my tab, he didn't even leave enough cash to cover his own. WTF, Stefan? This was apparently out of character for him, since he frequents that bar. You can't routinely walk out on tabs and keep coming back. In fairness to him, I heard from Ruby a few days later that the next time he was there, he paid for the rest of his tab and said he didn't realize he'd done that. In further fairness to him, he actually did pay for my shrimp like 3 weeks later, although I'm not convinced he actually remembered me. Either way, I avoided small talk the second time, just thanked him, and immediately retreated to my bar stool. He did not pursue that time, and I got to eat my damn shrimp in peace. TLDR, Neckbeard's cheap shrimp-based strategy for wooing potential face riders has never worked, but he is undeterred. I think the funniest part for me in all of this is the fact that he tried it again on her and probably didn't even remember that he'd, 1, already tried this move on her, and 2, that he'd skipped out on the bill that time. I don't know, OP. Maybe all those other girls were just practice and he thought you were the one, and it really just got to him so much that, like one of my former roommates, and this is a story about one of my beardy roommates, guys, very quickly. After getting rejected by 2 Asian girls that he had walked into a party, seen them, immediately gone, asked one out. She said no. He turns to the other, same thing. When she says no, in his own words, he told me, I was so distraught that I downed 2 margaritas and tried to drive home, and then got in a car accident and lost my license for DUI. It's hard when you meet your soulmate and they want nothing to do with you. Am I right, guys? And that's the video. Thank you so much, guys. We did keep it at under 30 minutes today. There will be timestamps for each story, so if you want to go back and listen to a particular one, that's going to be easy enough to do. I want to thank you all so much again for coming and hanging out with me today while we read these Neckbeard stories. There'll be more coming next week, and we still have our Lost Media and creepypastas throughout the week. So, until next time, guys, I'm Mr. Sean, this is Mr. Sean Productions, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.